Moving on to our final agenda of the seminar, which is the risk complexity in GA operation. Allow me to welcome Mr. Shankar.
Okay, hello everyone. So I'm back on the dais, and I'm here for let's say the finale part of the seminar, which is another panel discussion. And on this panel discussion, as you can see, is on an interesting topic. Probably it's like a tribute to the San and Fun event, which is happening, because San and Fun is a GA event. And this last topic for the day is a tribute to that. And we are going to have something on a GA flavor, which is the general aviation flavor, and that's on the complexities of risk management in general aviation operations. So besides the tribute part, why we are putting up this panel is also to acknowledge, most importantly, the fact that general aviation is a completely different beast altogether. It's very, very different from the scheduled air carriers like Riyadh Air, which is sitting here. They are completely different from what the GA operations happen. If you're working in a scheduled air carrier, let's say, and especially if you're in a full service airline, then your life is actually very, very predictable, both as a pilot and probably as a technician too. So it's so simple that for a pilot, you just fly into an aircraft which is already prepared by a team of engineers and a team of ground crew, which is there. You fly from a paved runway, a set runways like Riyadh, you land on a set runway like LHR, Heathrow, you fly on a set timetable, set paths, set durations, everything is set. You have everybody supporting you, a team of dispatchers, ops team, and everything is so organized. And of course, you know that you'll get breakfast and lunch inside the cockpit. You get occasional tea and coffee whenever you demand it. So this is the scheduled air carrier. Now for the general aviation, it's a whole different ball game. General aviation is like the 4x4. It's like the 4x4, what you drive here in Saudi Arabia on the sand dunes. It could be going up, down, left, right, zigzag. It could be anything. And unlike a scheduled air carrier pilot, which is always sleeping in the Hilton or the Intercontinental, a GA pilot, if he's flying a turboprop, and especially if he's on a helicopter also, he could be even sleeping in a tent or a container. So it's very, very different. They are landing in places where the 737s and the 320s do not land on the turboprops and the small jets. They are flying helicopters from where there is no actual landing ground, so they create a landing area, and this is where they are landing. They're flying schedules which change 4 to 5 times before you even start up the aircraft. I want to go here, I want to go there, let's take off now. Oh, no, wait, we're going to take off later. This is the GA world. Now, of course, if you now compare to what is there on a scheduled air carrier and from a GA, the risks on a scheduled air carrier is very predictable, and because it's so much predictable, it can be controlled. On a GA, with the variability and the uncertainties which are there, controlling risks, and even if you're saying that I'm going to manage risks, there's a big difference between what you are going to say and what actually happens on ground. And you know that the GA pilots are flying even single pilot missions. They are flying in areas where there is no supervision. So how do you ensure that whatever you have said or whatever the regulations are there will be complied with? So in this thing, for today's topic, I want to frame it in this Swiss cheese model, which I think every one of you are aware. It's by James Reason, a very simplistic one, which gives this thing holes on a cheese, and if these holes line up, you're going to have an accident. To prevent these holes lining up, you have the cheese slices, which basically are on technology, training, regulation, and procedures. And the holes can be these active failures or latent conditions, essentially, which already exist in the system. And like I said, in GA, they are full of holes. The problem with GA is not only that the GA is full of holes, the other problem is that these these cheeses, slices which are there, they are also moving, and they are also very thin because of the uncontrolled nature of what GA operations is, and also because the size and scale of GA operators, which do not have that full corporate governance or the kind of capital to ensure that the cheese slices stay thick. Now, with this thing, what happens that in GA is that because everything is shifting, we call it as practical drift. Things are happening on the go. We adapt as you fly. And the safety barriers are constantly shifting around this area, and we call it, scientifically, it's known as a low validity environment. It means that you really cannot predict what will be the outcome, unlike a fixed wing scheduled air carrier. So our challenge is simple, that how do we manage risks when these holes and the cheeses themselves are moving for general aviation operation. So to discuss this thing, I'm going to invite some people, panelists, who are here, and they represent different types of let's say, the cheeses. And so starting with first, Captain Shaya from THC. Okay. Yes, I had to confirm you are here. Please come. So Captain Shaya, he represents the cheese, which is the operational frontline for helicopters. He's the general manager and the director of flight ops for THC. He oversees a variety of missions. As you know, THC is engaged in HEMS, VIP, utility, SAR, and they also do corporate flights. He has held several safety and operational roles in his career. It gives him a solid knowledge, of course, out of this, insight into safety, compliance, and operational leadership. Shaya has also contributed to major safety initiatives and has done multiple helipad audits throughout the kingdom. For the other gentleman who's there, he's already was there on the stage a little bit before. He's Abdul Aziz from Alpha Star. Yes, please welcome him. And he represents the part of the cheese which deals with VIP pressures and corporate flights. Abdul Aziz is the Director of Safety, Security, and Sustainability at Alpha Star. He holds a bachelor's in aeronautical science from Embry-Riddle and an MBA from IE Madrid. He also serves as a post holder across multiple regulatory certificates. He brings a wealth of expertise on the table, as you had seen him earlier talking about fatigue and fatigue management, and he helps bridge operational excellence with these initiatives. And finally, we have the last gentleman, the last panelist, which is Majid. Majid is from Riyadh Airports, and he represents that part of the cheese which manages the critical interface where the aircraft land and take off from. Majid is the general manager of airside operations at Riyadh's King Khalid International Airport. He's an operational leader who's moved from executive aviation position into running airside operations. He leads tactical safety and performance, driving the implementation of SMS and risk management across the airside environment. And take a seat amongst you all. So we are going to take about 35 minutes or maybe a little less, because last time we really cut it really fine on the 1 o'clock part. So, I'll start off with the elusive one, which is Shaya. And he knows why I'm saying elusive, because yesterday, yes, he was elusive man. So let me start off with him before we find you disappearing again. So Shaya, we know that how THC has grown. A couple of years back, you were hardly having any helicopters, and now you're already a 60 plus, and with the growth which is targeted, you're going to be 100 plus. That's the intent in the next couple of years. So with this kind of a growth in aircraft, you've also increased the number of people, I'm sure, around this part. And I do know that we can call it as THC is holding the United Nations of helicopters, because you've got so many people from different nationalities around there. So in your case, it is especially interesting to know that, considering that people have come from so many different cultural backgrounds, where and how do people consider as what is the datum for the risk? It might be different for different people coming from different cultures, from different licensing backgrounds, different regulatory backgrounds. So what is the threshold of risk? And if these are the threshold of risks which are different, and you running the operations around THC has to establish a standardized risk. How do you think that that standardization can be done? And of course, the other part, which I introduced about, the variability part, which is the most important thing. And you're doing a lot of remote location stuff too. I know that some of your helicopters are doing long line transfers at NEOM and beyond, which is like beyond the visibility of everyone else, and including the regulators. So how do you trust that the pilots and the maintainers there are conforming to the safety procedures which GACA has written, or probably you are espousing about?
Hello, everyone. I just want to highlight that in THC that we are having right now 45 different nationalities in one company, and those only the pilot population. So having all these pilots to work around the SMS framework, implement whatever required from them to excel during flying, is not an easy job. So we have people from Trinidad, from Brazil, from Japan, from Malaysia, and everywhere, you name it. And bringing all these people together to produce one single work is not an easy job. So we put some cheese processes for them from the induction, from day one into in the operation. We get them around how to operate the aircraft, into how to circumnavigate our culture, and how to implement all these procedures. And remember, it's not only the aircraft procedure, it's the SMS framework, aircraft manufacturer manual, our SOPs, aircraft SOPs, everything they need to implement and sing the same song like one single orchestra. So it's not an easy job, but we improve our work with them through continuous engagement, take their strength, know their weaknesses as well, and we group them in terms of their capability to implement all these SMS frameworks required from each pilot. And every time we face a challenge with one of them, that means it's required more corrective action like training, more orientation about the SMS manuals and how to implement them. Yes, we have problem with some of them, our system actually able to detect these issues immediately, and we put it either they required additional training, additional orientation, and it worked. As long we are reporting systematically all these areas from the chief pilot, from their colleagues, even from the technician and paramedics as well. So it works as a collective work for all TEC to work as family. And whenever we see weakness somewhere, we address it properly. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Shaya. I thought you will evade and probably give that everything is good. I quite liked it that you did admit that, yes, there were occasional problems. And I think there's a truth in your answer. And thank you for being candid on that part. And so after you, and let me get back to the other operator who's there. And, these are the people who are on the sharp end of operations, as you say, because, if there's a risk, the impact is felt with the pilots and the operators first. So on Abdul Aziz, as you had introduced yourself and you told, I remember saying that Alpha Star operates about 60 aircraft or something like that?
35.
35, all right, 35. Yes. Okay, I probably included the 2030 growth plan also in that. Okay, so you operate 30 aircraft now. And you were into VIP flying, you were into corporate flying, which is there. It's the white-collared part of operations, unlike what Shaya says that he does both, the blue-collar part of lifting things and VIP too. So in your case, because you're flying VIP, there's a different kind of a culture when you fly VIP flying, right? VIP flying means bespoke. VIP flying means luxury. VIP flying means you tell me what, and it'll be customized. Now, in this case, how do you, there'll be always a pressure from a VIP which comes in. that we need to do something and this is the change, or make it happen, because that's what VIP charter companies pride themselves with, that they can make things happen. And that's why they're in the business. And that's why they're preferred by these ultra high net worth guys who really do not mind shelling out money so long as the convenience is guaranteed. Now, in this case, how do you protect a pilot or a maintainer who might be on ground, who might be under pressure to bend the rules? And, especially in your case, because the customer who's paying is very close to the pilot or the maintainer. He's there. Unlike the scheduled air carriers like Riyadh Air, the pilot is here and the passenger's in the back. Everything is insulated. So how do you ensure this protection in your company that, you don't have this kind of a conflict with the pilots and maintainers, and meaning no could be done in the interest of safety?
Actually, great questions, and thank you for bringing this up. Before we start, I want to thank you for the invite, because usually private aviation don't get that love in terms of expressing what we do in terms of private aviations and what goes behind the scene. So a little bit brief about Alpha Star. Alpha Star established 2010 with 2 aircraft, and now we have 35 aircraft. With that growth, I believe the organization itself have set a set of protocols and barriers for what's coming. The organization is agile to a point where we have set boundaries between what the flight operation goes through and the commercial team dealing with the commercial things. Make no mistakes, we understand that we are under pressure and we fly very sensitive individual and entities, but at the end of the day, the pressure sometimes is a privilege. And we are in a set of privilege to be helping these individuals and these entities. But we have masters over the years, moving between 7 different fleets and 1,000+ employees. The protocols of what's in the operation is in the operations, so these individuals don't go through any hassles or tackles or pressure, and they feel pressured. And whatever in the commercial side, we deal with it in a separate roles. All these 2 elements, the organization has multiple certifications, from ground handling, from maintenance, flight operations, 121, 125. We have managed to merge them all under one SMS, that agile to a point where all can be fit and everybody can speak the same language. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Abdulaziz. I know that's a difficult thing, what you just said, and probably to enforce or to have it, but I'll come back to that later, all right? Coming to you, Majid, and you're looking after the airport, and that's where you have Saudia and Riyadh Air and all these big giants coming in with the organized way. And then you have the disorganized ones, which are coming from here, all right? And I know that in airports and everybody, they usually think of GA as second-class citizens, because they create all these variability, creates a lot of problems to the airport on their KPIs. And because of these variabilities, airports know that something could happen, and if it could happen, it's not the Lufthansas which are going to cause it, it's the little ones which are going to cause it. So now with this mix of growth of this traffic in Riyadh Airport, and I know you've already said helicopters not invited to this party, but at least if the jets are coming in and you have this mix of VIP and changes and everything else, these catering, special catering which will be coming on these flights, last minute changes, somebody will ask for a bouquet, somebody will ask something else, there's another car rushing in. So, there's an environment of what we call as a ramp rash, right? Something could happen, something could go wrong, and, I know that you have different terminals for this reason, for the GA operations, that in case something happens, you guys stay there. But also with the human variability, because Rad earlier had told us that, there's a whole lot of churn which happens on these ground handling and the airport part on the airside operations. What do you think that the protocols, the technologies are there with the Riyadh airport to de-risk these incidents which are there? And do you think that you could actually accommodate the THCs and the Alpha Star, or do you think that THC and Alpha Stars will have to conform to what you're dictating?
Okay, first of all, مساء الخير, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So, for us, for the airports, let's acknowledge something first, that the VIB operations for us, it means different kind of aircrafts, different kind of equipment, and different kind of operators with high assets, high value assets. So, thank you for the regulator, and I'm taking the chance to thank you, our colleagues there, that we have a strong base in regards to the safety management system, that all of the operators and in regards to the airdrome operators, aircraft operators, and the GSCs or the ground operators, we have all the same language. We have a strong base of safety management, and we can speak all the same language. So engaging with our colleagues, we saw that we can communicate in a very strong base, and for the technology in regards to also the airport operators, we adapting the technologies that been assigned for the scheduled aircraft with some tailor to adapt also to the GA operators. So we have a strong base of regulations, procedures, and so on. This is giving us flexibility with the time windows, flexibility with their ad hocs, as you mentioned, the catering, the GSCs, and the time constraints that they have. So this is our way to accommodate for their requests, and at the same time ensuring safe operations.
Okay, so would that mean that you do try to engage with the THCs and the Alpha Stars, saying that people, please let us have less variability in all your operations, please have a little bit more planning? And do you think that considering the segment which they represent, which is bespoke, which means bespoke equals to variability and last minute changes, do you think that that could be achieved?
Yes, actually, because the hugest pressure that we have as an airdrome operator is the expanding of the air operators, and I'm speaking here in general, so it's not specifically for the general aviation, and how the airport is being agile to accommodate their requests. Regards or in terms of the human resources that they have, we applied a very competent management system, which they help us also to ensure the safety or the safe operations around the aircraft, because as I said, it's a high value asset, and we would like to keep it safe. And also, as I mentioned, it's to accommodate their requests in regards to the time windows, in regards to the slot management, and so on.
Okay, so I think the easier way would be, that's the reason why I think FBOs are there, that, you guys stay separate, and the Lufthansas and the Riyadh Airs can stay separate, and whatever mess you need to create, you can create it there. Is that what would be a way to deconflict or de-risk to a certain extent?
Yes, I think in general, they have the same principle. However, the ad hoc aspects in the general aviation is more. And we have to be agile to accommodate their requests.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so in this part, Abdulaziz, I'm not going to come back to you because you triggered something, with that fatigue management session which you did, which was quite nice, and I must say that it was presented in a very, very gripping way. I quite liked that part where that, dark, dismal, dark night photo was there, and then you said that how it can happen, which is actually true in general aviation. That can happen. You could have a person, a maintainer working 11-hour, 12-hour shift. You could have a pilot who has actually crossed the flight duty time limits. You can have all these things. Now, of course, that's the academic part of fatigue management. And you also said that there are pillars to manage fatigue, which is scheduling, rostering, which we know that it's in your segment. Like, now that's a big ask, right? And the culture, the training, we also know that the churn rate is one of the highest in these kind of a GA operators. It's not like the airline pilots who join the airline and for 10, 15 years they are there. It doesn't happen there. The workplace environment, it keeps on changing because one day you are here, the second day you could be here. If you're a jet pilot, you could be here today, and the next day you are in Stansted. So with all these things happening, do you think that the fatigue management, where you said that technicians must understand sleep science, which is a blue-collar activity, and the technicians are usually looking for the next paycheck or when is my off period, do you think that there's practicality in this thing for general aviation operators to actually adopt this kind of this 4-point thing? Or certainly it's much more easier for an airline, I think. So what do you think about, as honest feedback, that would it work for a GA operator?
No, it's great questions, honestly. It wasn't the easiest. Anything to implement in an organizations, well, I can speak on my companies because we are 1,000+ employees. If you want to have some effect and changes, it might be faster than a bigger organization like Saudia or Flynas, etc. But it was my team and I, we were in doubt of making any changes. And we used to believe that we don't think this will hit and people will might not believe into this. And then we try to understand what speaks to the organizations. It's nice to have things that are fancies and whatever Lufthansa has you want to have, but maybe that's not tailored to your organization, and maybe that does not fit within your organizations. I want to elaborate a little bit more of how simplicity plays a big difference. So in the company, we have managed to get one of the best reporting system in the world. It's held by one of the biggest organizations in the world, the Saudi of the world, the Lufthansa of the world, the Delta of the world. And implementing a system like that, we thought it was going to be plug and play, and end up being no. There is a point where you have to educate people and go down to the ground and start from rock bottom, from a foundation that you can build on. And this is what we have experienced, that every single time we introduce something new to the company, we look where we at and we roll with the people we have. We don't start from the top. So a system like reporting system, we started with WhatsApp, and then we grow into emails, and then we grow into system, and then a better system to get the better outcome of these things. Again, to elaborate to your questions, it's not easy. It was not smooth, and especially being in the safety, we're not selling ice cream here. We're telling people what you're making wrong, or what's wrong. But with the agile standards, we understand that we can get there one day. So with the more try and a level of discipline, we make the impossible possible to get to that point.
Okay, but true, and at least realistically anchored, let me put it that way. Which also brings me around this part that because it's challenging, which you just said, and I'm going to ask you the question now coming to Shaya is similarly around this part on a real thing. Is that, I know that you people are also engaged in doing aerial work flights. More I put aerial work flights is that aerial work flights are, of course, if you have to see the entire spectrum of the type of flying, which is the aerial work, would be, the most riskiest. And you're doing it for the Paris-Dakar Rally. You're also doing for the F1, I think, in Jeddah. All right. So, and they're all hazardous, and we know that there's, especially for the Paris-Dakar Rally, there's a great operational tempo also because you're moving along, right? You're setting up bases and you're moving along as the rally is moving along and progressing on the geography across Saudi Arabia. Now, with this part, of course, the question would be that there is always a thing about risk appetite, right? So do you think that the risk appetite during this season, for example, like Dakar, Paris-Dakar, which you're doing, is unintentionally increased, you're stretching the boundaries a little bit more because to keep up with that moving camp and the kind of operations which you're doing, because you need to give the thrill to the audience also, right? It's being televised to a million watchers across the world. So do you think that these things, whatever you're doing in this way, do you think that the deviances which would happen they get normalized, and then to do a reset back, that guys, Docker is over, and now we have to reset, and this is how we are going to do. Do you think that there is a challenge in changing these things and constantly saying that, okay, you know what, we did this thing, and now we change and we say we are going to do it this way now. And then again, next season we come back to that.
True. At the beginning, once we were introduced to these type of missions like the Rally Dakar or Formula One in Jeddah, so at the beginning, yes, we faced some challenges in there, but when we implemented the dynamic risk assessment, so we are able to identify all these spikes or trends immediately, address them very quickly. So one of the pilots, for example, or Formula One in Jeddah, the pilot need to do a 300 loops around the aircraft on that around the track to keep filming and produce high quality filming aspect for Formula One for the world to see. And I know that's a lot of work on these two pilots, but I have another two pilots on standby for them to take over whenever one of them raise the flag. Whenever a pilot raises the flag, most probably after 3 loops or 4 loops or 100 loops, they are free to raise the flag without any punitive or why you didn't have enough rest yesterday. Or the technician, maybe it's not only the pilots. So we created an environment for everyone to raise the flag whenever it's needed. Otherwise, this will cost the enterprise a lot of risk. We don't want to reach that. We need to contain the operational risk within the operational risk circle as kind as possible before it escalates and become enterprise risk. So yes, we have some trends. We have some pilots who raised the flag and they wanted replacement. We changed. We have technicians who raised the flag and we replaced them. And we always have backup for the backup as well. Aircraft poses some more challenges in terms of the 4-axis pilotage, autopilot. We changed the aircraft immediately. The backup aircraft is just half nautical mile away from the aircraft. So money is not an object for our company. We always have a backup. We allow to have a backup, and anything happen, they will ask you, why didn't you have a backup for whatever happened? So this is how we control our operation and keep it within that protection line, symmetrical all the time. Whenever there is a deviation, we address it very quickly. For the last Formula One, we actually moved one of the pilots. He didn't raise the flag, but we thought it's too much. Step down, we assign another helicopter pilot.
Okay, so good. It's reassuring to know that, okay, you have specific instances where you interjected or intervened in the interest of safety, and there have been changes for the positive. And I'm sure that's reassuring even to Gaka to hear that part. And on that same note, to you, Abdulaziz, that in the similar way, you would also have some kind of external pressures, right? And the usual thing is that the client expectations is the euphemism for external pressures. It's always the client asking something, and you try to do it. So, how do you educate the client, or do you think that you have the access, or do you think that in your company people could reach out to the client and say that you know what, could we just, you were using the aircraft 200 hours in a year, and I think there were 1 or 2 things which just happened this side, that side. Could I just get your ear for some time? Do you think that that's a possibility, or do you think that no, you have such ultra high rich clients that, you know, for them literally seconds $1 million, and you really can't get their ear? So what do you think about that?
Transparency is a big thing to us. And again, we don't let the operation interfere of what's the business model is all about. We let the CEOs, the people that consider to talk to the VIPs to do their things, and we handle what the operation is all about. I think what makes us unique dealing with the sensitivity of the clients that we deal with, that our operation team have the right and the say-so whenever they are in need to be heard and listened to. non-punitive report get the most out of our reports in case of we're missing any bits and pieces within our safety management systems. But the company itself, other than the VIP aspect, imply the agile standard to a point that we're just so proud of it, to a point we are just going to wherever the country is pushing us to go in terms of growth. I want to share one of the activities that we are embarking in for the last, I would say, 3 years right now. So to share, in the south of Saudi Arabia, where Bisha, Jazan, and all these cities over there, we are encountering a very harsh and challenge for the forest fire. Alpha Star 3 years ago has been appointed to develop a fleet of air tractors, aircraft, to be in charge of putting all these fires down. Now, you ask, I've been in the organization for 10 years. You ask me one day I'm going to be responsible for putting a fire down in the south of Saudi Arabia, I would be, no. That is just not what I implied when I signed up for this job. Is it a mandate? Is it a task that we need to do and we need to work on? Absolutely. With a badge of honor. And the system and the company itself allowed to be agile to a point to move and customize itself to handle a project like that. So this is just like another Formula One, and there's just another 300 turn around to my friend Shaya here. We're just aligned to a safety management system that can be plugged and play and agile and mold in any activities within the organization.
Okay, I quite like it that you two are the birds of the same feather, and you're kind of leaning on each other for something.
We only see each other in conferences. We don't.
Okay. All right. Last question now to you, Majid, is you have all the GA operators which are coming around, and we do understand that there are risks around GA operations. Do you think that if you had to, if let's say Riyadh Airport had to do some kind of a onboarding or a sensitization session around standardization of, let's say, the ramp safety, do you think that you do have the buy-in from the THCs and Alpha Stars, or right now they're just talking about all the good stuff, but actually you can never find them?
Yeah, actually, as I said before, we all speak the same language and we have all the same goals. So we conduct number of sessions with each other in a periodic session. And let me bring back one of the recent summits, the FII summit, as an example. So we anticipated at that time that we will have on ground around 150 aircraft. And this is way beyond the capacity of the airport. So we spoke with our stakeholders, including the gentleman here, and we communicate our plan, and we get a number of great ideas from them to park all of aircrafts around taxiways, around non-standardized aprons, and so on. So we collaborating with each other. We see each other in the periodic phases, and yes, we learn a lot from them as well.
Okay. While you were replying and it sounded so positive, and it's a great thing that if it's positive, and I did look at the countenance of these two gentlemen here, and I could say, Abdullah is saying yes, and the smirk from Shaya saying that yes, we were telling you we do it, we are all part of this whole thing. So it's great to hear that, and supported by an entirely different thing. You two are the birds of the same feather, but if you're hearing it from Riyadh airports that they do get the buy-in, that's a reassuring thing.
Riyadh Airport, listen, recently the FII conferences, you're talking about 200, 300 plus aircraft going to land in the general aviations. If we don't have that harmony, something is going to happen. And even in Alpha Star, we do have a ground handling team that just appointed on whatever the direction of whatever the direction of Riyadh Airport is in tuned, we're just risk assessment and go after, risk assessment and go after. So we do have commonality a lot.
I believe you. And so coming to the last part, a quick round, of just 2 questions, just to sum up a little bit things, and that's like a quick ones, right? The terminal questions, for which please do not do a long-winded answer. I just need a quick one-sentence part. So this is the cheese model, which is just there behind you, and you have procedures, regulations, training, and technology. In your opinion, I'll start off with you first, Majid. Which is the thinnest slice in Saudi Arabia right now? What do you see?
So I would like to choose the technology. So I think that the school that we are trying to apply is removing all of the risks from the individual and move it to the digital and system controls.
The second thinnest slice? First is technology, you said. What is the second thin one which you would say?
Yeah, also for the training. So,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. What about you?
Straightforward regulations. GACA has been supportive, has been opening their arms, their ears, and listening to us.
We are saying, so you mean to say that's the thickest slice? The regulations are protecting you. The question is, which is the thinnest
The
slice?
thinnest technology. I have to agree with you.
Thinnest technology.
Thinnest technology.
All right.
And I have to add regulations as well, because not all the activities that we are having in tune with what the regulation is all about. So
Okay.
they've been working with us in these things.
Right. Shaya,
I would say technology and regulations.
they are the thinnest.
Yes.
Yes, so you would say, okay, being an operator, and I know that there are, we did have this drift earlier, which we talked about yesterday. We were just mentioning that is regulations keeping pace with the growth? Is it anchored in reality? Is it just? So I think that's where you are coming from. We missed you in the last panel. Maybe you could have elaborated on that. And on the last question, a quick one is that, you know, if you take a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being terrified and 5 being fearless, how safe does a junior employee in your organization would feel about reporting a mistake to a Saudi general aviation company? You are not a general aviation company, but you interact with them, right? So could you respond? 1 is terrified, 5 is fearless. There's a problem, I can just open up and speak.
Yeah, I will choose the middle ground. So
2.5,
Yes.
all right? You?
I'll go 3.
Shoya?
I'll do 5.
So 5 is fearless. He can say it.
Absolutely. The system give you the option for anonymous.
You can just think it over again. 5 is completely fearless. It's like a perfect organization with just cultures absolutely embedded. Do you think that it's still a 5?
So
For the Saudi GA we are talking about.
once we added the function for anonymous reporting, I took the fear factor out of it.
Okay.
So anybody can report.
All right. Thank you. So with that part, we come to an end of this panel, and we did realize that, yes, there are a lot of complexities around general aviation, and that's why I said in the starting, like, GA is a different beast altogether, and we need to see it in that perspective, that the variability which are there and the changes which happen, that unpredictiveness which is there on GA, the traditional forms of risk management which has been established for, let's say, the scheduled air carriers would not work in GA operations, and we need to see it in a different way and probably address it in a different way, where we understand that the work is imagined, what the regulations are saying, and the work is done as what the pilot is actually doing on the ground may be very different. And it is the work of the regulator to see that this work is imagined and work is done is as straight as possible, and also for the operators to bring up to the notice that, you know, hey, we need to be more pragmatic around the regulations, and probably this is what we need to do. So thank you very much, my dear panelists, and being here and sparing your time. I know, Shakir, for you, yes, the elusive man to be here, and to all the others, thank you very much.